Hi there, everyone. It is currently the 29th of September 2014. Meteorologist Robert Spetta joining you here today, right around about 08 Universal Standard Time, and we are continuing to track this rapidly intensifying storm system, Tropical Storm Phanfone. I do hope I am pronouncing that right. If I am not, and you do speak Laos, let me know if I'm saying that wrong. But Phanfone still intensifying. And as you can see here on the infrared imagery, we're actually seeing a lot of convection wrapping around the southern periphery of this and in from the north. Good outflow aloft also on the northern periphery. And this is also sitting over sea surface temperatures well into the 30s. So a lot of criteria in place for this storm system to further intensify. Where is it going? Well, the immediate threat, of course, is the chain of islands you see just towards the west of the center of circulation here. That's actually Guam, Saipan, and the Mariana Islands. At this time, tropical storm watches are in effect for Saipan, just north of Guam. Guam itself, no warnings have been put in place, but you are going to be seeing some scattered showers out here. Don't get me wrong. This storm system, as it tracks overhead from the east, is going to be moving across the islands here, and you can see on this model outlook actually from GFS, and I'm using this instead of the Meteo Earth app today because the ECMWF I think is completely not handling the storm system very well, and actually it's not showing much of a center of circulation at this time. But if you go back to the satellite imagery, there's a fairly clear center of circulation wrapping around the storm system, so the low is definitely there, and that's why I'm gonna kind of stay clear of that particular model. Well, that's at least during this update until the ECMWF really catches on with this storm system. And really what we're going to be seeing, this is looking ahead throughout the day on Monday night into Tuesday. Saipan just taking the brunt of this. We can even zoom in on the winds with the GFS. This model really has had a decent handle on this storm system, and what we can see here is actually, as we look ahead, basically this is by Tuesday morning, winds starting to pick up off here towards the north, and as we look ahead by Tuesday evening through the overnight hours, it does pass well north of Guam. The bulk of the precipitation will be off towards the north, even in some of these islands that really don't have many people on it, but Saipan's probably going to get hit the worst by this. Tropical storm strength winds, very well possible. We're talking about 35 knot winds in the Saipan. That is why the watches are in place. Also some high surf and some scattered rain showers. If you remember back with our last storm system, Halong, when that pushed over Guam, I don't think it's going to be as strong, but very similar outcome, specifically for Saipan that we saw in Guam. A tropical type of system, but not a full-fledged typhoon at that point. Then as we continue to look ahead, by Tuesday night into Wednesday, it's already going to be past. This storm system actually at this time, according to the latest warning from JMA, is moving west at a fairly decent pace, about west at 20 kilometers per hour, 35 knot sustained winds up to 50 knots. They do expect it to continue to intensify though, and this is something actually fairly rapid intensification, already up to a severe tropical storm by Tuesday evening here, right around 06 UTC. And then as we look at 0106 UTC, so by Wednesday evening, it's well towards the west of the Mariana Islands. But at that point, it's already nearly a typhoon. And as we look ahead into Thursday, JMA does expect this to become a typhoon. But let's pull this forecast and a little bit farther here towards the west, because we have our 5-day outlook now. And this shows you going into the weekend, key thing to note here is this is Okinawa off here towards the north. Is this storm system going to be impacting Okinawa and the southern Japanese islands? Right now, model consensus starting to say no. We're going to see a churn towards the northeast. Key thing to note, though, this is already the 5-day forecast, and if you look at a tropical system beyond the 5-day forecast, you're kind of playing your luck. So there is still a possibility of this swinging back towards the west, but right now it does look like numerical guidance is starting to say more of a recurving type of scenario. But how close is it going to be getting to Japan? That's the other big topic we're looking at today, because let's go back to that first model I showed you, the GFS, because it does show our storm system intensifying, and this is the farthest east this model has really been showing these types of storms, because or this particular storm, because last several runs it's actually kept it west of Okinawa, and the Navjim was even pulling towards Taiwan. Now it's showing this trough coming in out of Korea, and that's going to pick this up and push it towards the northeast. But as we look ahead, that takes a very close track towards the Kii Peninsula, and then even over towards Tokyo. So if you're in the Yokosuka area, Kanagawa region, even over towards Chiba, this particular outlook, which we are seeing here on Monday, well, evening, shows a storm system hitting that area. Remember, this is like 7 days out, though, guys. So right now, the big topic is Guam, Saipan, and the Mariana Islands. Beyond that, there is a possibility of this impacting Japan, or it can completely miss, or it could be just a full-fledged typhoon right into your hometown here if you live out in this area. There's still a lot of stuff happening. That's just the several scenarios I'm running through here with. But right now, it really depends on several things. How deep is that trough coming in from the west going to be? You can see that trough right here. This is a 500 millibars on the GFS outlook. Here it comes. And then we have our storm system tracking off there towards the northwest. As that comes in, it's going to hook up our storm and pull it towards the northeast, fouled in behind a ridge, which is just going to act like a block. So we see our trough come through, hooks it up, that ridge sets in, and then you see our turn towards the northeast. What's going to be happening with this? Well, it depends on the timing with that and how far south our storm is. All right, guys, that's all for now. Thanks again for watching. All right, bye.